All right, we're back. And more stupidity in the news. So I don't know.
There's a never-ending parade of stupidity in the news.
Oh God, it's one of those things where I don't know about you, but I find that I'm getting to the point where it's like I almost don't want to know what the news is because
it's almost like you get burnt out.
You do get burned out. I have to take breaks. I don't know about you, but I have to take breaks from it because it's not only frustrating, but it's depressing. You know, so like you'll see things that you think, how in the world did we, and again, this is kind of getting to what this podcast is becoming, is just trying to figure out how the fuck does this shit actually go down? How does this bubble up to the top and all of a sudden become something that's newsworthy? How does this bubble up and how does this even become a thing?
I continually ask myself, how do people see this, see something in particular and not feel outraged? How does a person, usually for me, it's someone who's conservative, read a news story or hear about something and just, oh, this one man is telling the truth. This one guy who has been convicted of fraud over and over and over and over through years since the late 70s. He's got 91 charges against him for felony charges. This one guy, he's the one that's telling the truth. No, sorry. That's not how real life works.
Well, I think that has.
Let me step off my soapbox for a second.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. When you're talking about Trump, okay. Again, one of the things that I always try to figure out is how did we get here? You know what I mean? How did we, as a society? Because it's very rarely a quick thing. So if you look at and again. Even going back to some of these topics that I want to talk about, when you look at Trump, he's not the problem. He's the symptom. He's what's come out of the problem. And the problem has gone, you could go back to Reagan, but it was like when you started with Gingrich and neocons. You could even include Ross Perot in that mix. You could go then to the Tea Party, then you go to MAGA. Okay, so it's this long slog of just a little stupidity, and you go, oh, okay, well, that's just a little stupid, and then a little bit more, and then you go, that's enough, and then they go, okay, we'll back off, and then you don't hear anything for a couple months, and then all of a sudden something ridiculous. And I think,
you know what it is? Just the straight poop. He has figured out who is the easiest to manipulate out there.
Well, he said that. He actually said that in an interview. Yeah. He said that if he was going to run, he'd run Republican because they are the easiest to convince. They're not, and I don't know the exact quote, but basically he was calling them stupid,
an idiot,
yeah, and easily manipulated. And at his heart, Trump's a salesman. He's not a realtor. He's not, Mr. He's a salesman. Everything's a negotiation.
I would say he's not even a salesman. He's a grifter.
But even a grifter is a salesman. You got to make that pitch, and you got to be able to get your product or your idea over the door or, over the curb and have the money from your target in hand. So no matter what the case is, no matter what you label him as, he's still a symptom. He's the culmination of 20, 30 years of this particular wing of politics pushing until they get what they want. And then when they get what they want, they vote against it because they want to use that as a political tool, as we're seeing with the border deal. Okay.
Right.
Again, this is not the first time that Republicans have negotiated, at least recently, in bad faith. So they pick their representative to do the negotiation. They usually try to pick the one that they think is going to be the toughest in that. The guy gets what he wants and what they want and does all the negotiation, comes back and says, hey, we got 85, 90, 95% of what we wanted. And that's not good enough. And that reason it's not good enough is because Trump came out and told the party, I don't want you to vote for this. I want to run on this. Well, if you've been running around for the last 3 years with your hair on fire, screaming border, 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 and before that, when Trump was in office, running around screaming with your hair on fire, border, 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 okay, well, how do you want to fix it? You know what I mean? Like, you gave us every idea you had, and we said yes to, they said yes to almost all of it.
Well, you know what'll show them? Let's burn some books.
Well, that's what they're doing. And that's my point. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That'll show them.
It's not even burning books, though they have done that, I think. It's the book banning. And again, this goes to just a ridiculous philosophy. In 2020, well, here, let me pull this up. In 2020, 273 books were protested and people tried to get banned. Okay, now that was the lowest year. Before that, 2019, it was up, almost twice that amount. It was 566. In 2021, 1,597. In 2022, 2,571. In 2023, 3,362 book bans, affecting 1,557 unique titles with more than 40% of the bans occurring in Florida. 40% are being banned in Florida.
Well, they used to get together and have a little campfire and burn these to make a point.
Yeah. And they did that even with Harry Potter back in the day.
Yes. And as the great Milton once wrote, he who destroys a good book kills reason itself.
Ain't that the truth? But here's my problem with it. I get it. If you're a parent and you're saying, I don't want these particular books to be available in the school to my child. Now, fine. You can even do that at your local library. Fine. But does your kid have a phone? Because if your kid has a phone or has internet access or a tablet or goes to school and uses any of those things or has friends that have phones or tablets or internet connections, it's like banning books today would be the equivalent of being against horses today. I don't want horses on our roads. Okay, well, there's a very small population that you're going to have to deal with. They're the Amish, and aside from that, there's not many horses on the road. You're choosing the wrong thing.
There's a part of that reminds me of the whole EV issue. I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench in the subject, but EV vehicles.
Okay.
And people are very against them because what if it's cold outside? It only affects it by 12%. But there's so much of a backlash for people who want gasoline vehicles. I'd like to remind people that at the turn of the century, and I'm talking the 1800s to the 1900s, there was a giant backlash against gasoline vehicles and the tried and true trusted horse and buggy.
Oh, yeah.
Guess who won?
Exactly. And that's the thing is like, it doesn't matter what the argument is. They're picking the wrong reason. You know what I mean? Like, you can have the argument and you might have, but when you're making an argument that it's basically a paper tiger. Okay. You can absolutely question, in my opinion, the books that are available to children in school and at a library. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. You can go so far as to say, can we make sure that these are age restricted? I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with book banning. I do have a problem with that. I have an issue with it specifically because if a child is going to go and search out a book at their library, let's say it's about homosexuality. Don't you think that the reason that they're searching that out is probably because either they came across or one of their friends showed them, some sort of pornography and they were trying to come to terms with it, trying to understand what their feelings were about it? That's
or
probably
Sonny got into Dad's drawer.
Yeah, or whatever the case may be. The library should should not be something that is political, I don't think. But that's like the low end of the argument, okay? And I think that what we're seeing is a power struggle in the country. And it's not just, Democrats versus Republicans, liberals, conservatives. I think it's this weird dynamic that's going on where you are seeing an increase in people who identify as conservative. That's a fact. You're seeing more people either identify as independent. I think for identifying as liberal, it's like 25%. Okay. That doesn't mean that they don't vote Democrat. That just means that they identify as liberal, identify as conservative, or identify as independent. And you're seeing an increase in the independent, and you've seen a decrease in the liberal. And I think that that's partially the liberals' fault for going too far on a number of things. However, these things are going to happen. Okay? You're not going to, people say, well, we gave in to gay marriage. You gave in. You gave in to something that you don't have to participate in. You don't have to do. You don't have to support in any way, shape, or form. So you gave in to something that effectively has no influence on anything in your life. Okay?
Oh, but it could make my kid ask questions.
Yeah, well, be a fucking parent.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's your job as a parent.
God forbid a person in a free country wants equality. Oh my God.
Well, even beyond that, be the parent. And your job as a parent is to have those difficult conversations. Your job as a parent is to state the answer that you feel is age appropriate and understandable and sufficient to answer your child's question. That's not grandstanding. That's the fucking job description. You know what I mean? That's it. That's what you need to do. You need to be paying attention. And it sucks. Look, I'm a dad. It sucks having those conversations. It sucks having to go through and make sure that there's nothing inappropriate in search histories. It sucks trying to do parental controls. It sucks, especially when you got parental controls going on shit, and then you want to use it, and you can't get to what you're wanting to look at because of parental controls. Okay, and that's not even counting anything bad. Okay, I mean that's just like in general.
As a kid, I got to figure out my password.
Yeah, so. But what I'm seeing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, tell me if you think I'm off base, but I think it's not necessarily that conservatism is losing power. I think they're gaining followers, but they're not able to execute. So they're getting more power, and they're getting more politicians that are going that way. But they're not able to get anything done. They're not able to execute anything properly.
You really think conservatives are growing, whereas maybe liberals are just not as vocal?
No, I got those numbers from Pew.
Okay.
So I felt it was Pew and one other
feeling
one.
In me that liberals, it's the conservatives, the Trump followers that put the signs up everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you don't see what, and this is the brilliance of Trump, part and parcel. Again,
branding. That's what he does.
Branding. He is fucking amazing at branding, and
he's quick to sell his name.
Yeah, but that's
the
why
business doesn't always work out. Hence why he lost his ass on a casino because that's. Somehow.
I think he's learned a lot of lessons, though. I think he learned, especially once he did get into the game.
He's definitely learned a lot. How much money can he make going bankrupt?
Well, partially. Partially that. But I think one of the things that he did learn and applied was, I just need these people advertising me. And what's the easiest way? $25, $30 for a hat, throws a few of them out in the audience, gets everyone riled up with flags and all this other stuff. And a lot of it isn't even some stuff that he's making money on. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of it's just third party. But
I mean, do you see, as often as I do, traveling, all the little stands that pop up?
Yeah, the little Trump stores. Yeah, the little Trump stores.
It's crazy.
But again, this is my point. He was smart enough to realize that he could leverage that. He didn't need the third party stuff. So the guys are selling Rambo Trump flags.
Yeah.
They can make all the money they want off of it.
Trump on the back of a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a bunch of M16s, or
like that's he lets them run with that, and because he knows that all it does is drive more brand recognition for him. Okay, and that's all he cares about on this level, because all of his merchandise that he sells off of, like the campaign sites, that goes into basically his campaign funds. Well, they were just saying, like, he's got like ridiculous, like, I think they just spent $50 million on lawyers or something like that. Anyways.
Oh yeah. And $83 million on the defamation suit.
But again, that's not where he made his money. That's not where the money's made. The money's made by charging Secret Service to stay at his Mar-a-Lago estate.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's where the money is made.
All of his golf ventures while he was president.
Right.
They made a bunch of money because he didn't go to Camp David. He went to his golf place.
Right, and then charged the U.S. people. Yeah. So the question then becomes, how
can we get into this racket?
It's a great racket. Politics, man, I'm telling you what. I mean, you can say what you want about Trump, but look, fucking Nancy Pelosi's sitting pretty on a lot of investments. So again, this isn't necessarily...
Here's an observation. What tells me a person is gone off of the deep end, what I call a political sheep. And I see this obviously far more on the right than the left. But when a person is incapable of constructive criticism of the party that they follow, there's a problem.
And you're seeing that, you see it on both sides. And again, this isn't meant to be partisan.
I don't see it on the left very often.
Not often, but you do. You know what I mean? Like,
very rarely, because I can criticize the left, I can criticize the Democrats, but the moment you start speaking with somebody on the right,
they're not willing to hear it. They're not willing to hear it even.
I just read a story where a conservative college student waited until the very end of an organized event to talk with a news source criticizing Trump because he was afraid to be at all critical about anything because he's going to get threatened. He's been threatened.
And that's the thing, though, is that's why I say it's like this weird time. And I think that, politics makes for strange bedfellows has always been the case. But I think that what you're seeing and what you saw in 2016 was specifically the evangelicals, who I think are terrified and always have been terrified. The world's always ending for evangelicals. It's always worse than it could have. Like,
let's face it, Christianity is a doomsday cult.
It is. I don't think that there's any. I mean, just by the very nature of it, that they're hoping for end of times. But here's the thing: is again, it makes for strange.
Please, God, plunge the world in darkness and flames,
so that we can go to heaven. But you're seeing with the church attendance going down year after year after year, and I think that the churches are fearful that they're going out of business. I think that and their brand is end of the world. We got to keep you in line. Do as the book says. Do as we say. You go to heaven. Don't. You go to hell. And they are.
Meantime, empty your wallet into the bowl.
But what are they always? And this goes back probably further than we could even imagine. But specifically our lives and our childhoods, the topics that are always front and center, homosexuality, and now they include trans with that. Pornography's always been an issue. Polygamy's always been an issue. Abortion's always been an issue. It's as if they feel like their only option was to look the other way with Trump because they knew that they had this salesman that would get things over the curb, so to speak, that they wanted. And they were right. They were right. Had it not been for Trump,
the long game.
They were playing the long game, but I don't think that they realized that this is going to come back and bite them. Had it not been for Trump, they wouldn't have gotten 3 conservatives on the Supreme Court. Roe v. Wade would not have been overturned. Here's the problem. They didn't have a plan for after it was overturned. They had 50 years to get all the ducks in a row, whether that's making sure that foster care is taken care of, whether it's setting up private organizations to take care of unwanted children, whether it's, working with philanthropists who want to set up trust funds for colleges, there's a long, long list of shit that they could have been doing in that period of time, aside from protesting and blowing up abortion clinics. But now they've essentially got their way on a federal scale. That's still not good enough. They haven't even figured out how to deal with what they're dealing with on the states that have done the bans. So as an example, yes. Texas has seen a big, big spike in teen pregnancy. Well,
of course,
that's a shock. And the response has been, well, that's what we wanted. We wanted people to have to be responsible. We wanted them to have babies that they weren't intending to have. Well, you're talking about teenagers. Their fucking heads aren't fully developed yet. They're not making good decisions. They're just big balls of fucking hormones that will just, do whatever without any real full understanding of what the consequences would be. Well, great. So what happens? Now you're going to see a spike, right? You're going to see a spike in people that need government assistance. You're going to see a spike eventually in teenage crime, whether it's the teenagers who are the parents or the teenagers as they get older.
Last year, there was an uptick of 10,000 births in Texas alone.
Yeah, there's no way the system's going to be prepared for that. The schools are already too jammed. You know what I mean? It's like, again, this is one of the things I'm saying is you're taking a stance because that's either your religious, personal, or individual moral belief. And you're forcing that on other people who don't necessarily believe the same as you and should be allowed to at least make the decision whether they think an abortion is right for them or not. And that may be because of medical reasons. That may be because of, rape. That may be because they were a teenager. That may be because any number of things. Maybe they just went out and they had a good time and whoops, I don't even know this guy's number. And now I'm stuck carrying a baby to a dude I don't even know how to get a hold of.
Yep.
All of those things, whether you agree with them or you disagree with them, you should have the option as a person with full bodily autonomy to make your own decision. And if you're going to be the people that, whether it's government officials or constituents, that push for something like this, where it's illegal, well, don't be pissed off when the fucking system starts to collapse. And you better have a fucking plan in place for educating these kids, clothing these kids, making sure there's roofs over these kids' heads. Those things haven't been done. And now you're still pushing for more? It's not good enough.
Sacred.
It's just fucking ridiculous, okay? It's not your vagina. It's not your womb, okay? There's no womb here for you. Well, out of womb.
But there's cases where that lady had 2 wombs, basically.
Well, there's
birth to 2 different kids.
There's also a lady online that says that if women had a window to the womb, no abortion would ever exist. Come on. That's bullshit. That would be terrifying. If you had... You fucking sicko. The fuck are you talking about? Okay, what's next? You want to have womb service? A womb with a view? Come on. Like, that's the level of stupidity. So...
if there's going to be a window, there's got to be little curtains.
Oh, yeah. Those fucking curtains for your womb with a view. But my point is, that's like the first win that they've had. All right. And you know where this is going next. Okay. So if there is another Trump presidency, I don't think it's impossible. I think that it is as likely that Trump gets renominated as it is that Biden does. Okay. I don't like those numbers. I think that a lot of it will depend on whether or not how the court cases go and whether or not people start to go, well, wait a minute. How can the entire world be against this man and he's the only one? Maybe he's the one. Maybe he's the problem. I think at some point you're going to start seeing a little bit more of that. Whether that's enough to move the needle on, Dementia Joe, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea where this is all going. But what I do know is if you get another Trump presidency, they're going to go after gay marriage because it's low-hanging fruit to them. Okay? What was his name? Dusty Devers, I think, Oklahoma senator or congressman. Oh, what is it? He is, I think, introducing an anti-porn bill. What was it? Dusty.
Well, being that he's from Oklahoma, there's a saying in Texas. Do you know why Texas doesn't fall into the Gulf of Mexico?
No, why?
Because Oklahoma sucks.
Ah! All right, so he wants to jail people for watching porn. This is 5 days ago. All right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this is Rolling Stone. Oklahoma lawmaker Dusty Devers is hardcore Christian nationalist who believes the government should terrorize evildoers. Devers is a fundamentalist preacher. He's also a state senator, and he insists he doesn't see any firewalls between his two roles as he crusades. So right out of the gate, he thinks that being a preacher and being a senator, same thing, same responsibilities.
Oh, I bet he's got some lesbian nun porn in his searches.
Oh, I think he's got actually a collection of baby shoes. I do. When you see him, you go, okay, this motherfucker's got issues. All right. Like there's no,
Really?
oh yeah.
I gotta see him.
And if you start listening to him and watching him, you're like, and reading some of his statements, okay, it's clear that and again, it seems like, specifically on the Republican side, what they accuse the others of is what they're guilty of.
What's his name?
Dusty Devers, Dustydevers.
I almost type beavers.
As he crusades to outlaw porn and what he describes as the abortion holocaust and abolish no-fault divorce in Oklahoma. Okay? So basically what he's for is you don't get any porn, and then when your husband is abusing you, you can't leave because there's no such thing as no fault. Essentially, you get pregnant, you're fucked. Okay? Like these are the things that he's pushing forward. He was elected in a special election in December. Devers represents the town of Elgin in Oklahoma's rural southwest, where he grew up.
What a big surprise.
Yeah. The 47-year-old politician's views are extreme, even for Christian nationalists. It's like even Christian nationalists are going, hey, motherfucker,
Well,
you had me until you wanted to take off my Pornhub.
Now, you gave some information about him. And hearing all that, after seeing him, I am a year older than him.
I know. He looks horrible, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks horrible. I was discussing...
And you look hideous.
Joe McCarthy. You look hideous. I was discussing Joe McCarthy Joe McCarthy died at 48.
Really?
Look at pictures. Yeah. 48. He looked like he was in his 60s.
Easily looked that way.
Yeah.
But
he died at the age of 48.
Again, though, you're starting to see, like...
from hepatitis and alcohol.
Wow. He must have drank a fucking ton. I mean, I can put away a lot, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, he became the butt of fucking jokes in Hollywood.
Yeah. I guess that would increase your... So, yeah, he's 47.
Accusations.
This dude's...
I had no proof. Where's that bottle?
Yeah. So, unlike many Christian nationalists who seek to ghostwrite legislation or covertly sway candidates, Devers is operating in the open. He holds a position of direct political power, and he is able to shape the GOP agenda in Oklahoma and craft legislation in the Sooner State. He represents the bleeding edge of far-right Christian movement and seeks to put the force of the law behind its fundamentalist theology. And woe be to any non-believers. Now, all right, so that's directly out of Rolling Stone, all right? And so just the idea that he wants to put the force of the law behind the Christian fundamentalist theology, isn't that the Christian version of Sharia?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, why the fuck do we allow anyone who's going to try to legislate their religious beliefs into any political office whatsoever? It makes no sense. It doesn't work.
They want to end the separation of church.
I know they do. That's what I'm saying is like, but you know how they're going about it, the way that they're going to get to the point of ending the separation of church and state, it's going to be through the bedroom. That's exactly what they're doing. They're grabbing everyone by the genitals.
Yeah, they want to know what's in your pants and what's going on in your bedroom.
Yeah, and how you do it. And now, even more so, they want to be able to tell you what is okay and not okay. So it's not... So, like, there's this kind of this new... I don't want to call it a movement, but this new thing called online where you're seeing it's called trad wives. So, traditional wives. Okay? And...
You know how you end some of that really quick? A person like Dusty Devers. You get some teenage kid to knock up his daughter and see how quickly his tune changes.
It won't, though. It won't. I think this motherfucker is the type of dude that would literally disown her. You're going to have that child. You're not going to be a part of this family until you married. Shotgun wedding happening right now. You know what I mean? Like all those things. So, okay, you're banning the books. You're banning abortion. The attacks that come across to the trans community are through the roof. You're going to try to ban pornography and eventually overturn same-sex marriage. What's the next step then? I mean, isn't that the next step, is just creating even more and more draconian, fundamentalist?
Well, this goes back to my theory of encouraging if you're right wing, you know what? Get south of Tennessee. We're gonna build a wall.
Yeah. I'm at a loss when it comes to how they think that this is going to play out.
At what point in time does Canada start building?
Oh God, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? If they were like, you know what, we're done with you crazy motherfuckers. I mean, no offense, but yeah, we got to put a wall up. It would be interesting to see how the United States, how people would take that. And then it would be interesting to see.
I would love to see that.
How Mexico goes, oh, now you know what it feels like, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, welcome to the fucking real world.
I think Mexico should build up a wall and Canada should build a wall.
I think that it would be amazing if they both said, you know what, we're just trying to keep you in.
Let's try to contain you people.
Anyways, I guess where I'm going with all this is it seems like the very church, that Christians in general, they're seeing numbers shrink. They're seeing the world change. And I want to be empathetic, okay? So let me, I've been obviously a little bit critical about this, but let me be empathetic for a moment, all right? I get it. The abortion argument, I get it. I totally get it. You know, you think you're killing people. You think that they're killing babies. I get it. I don't agree with you on that. I understand if you think that life begins at conception. And even if
that's not what the Bible says.
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't care what the Bible says. That's my whole fucking point. I don't give a shit what the fucking Bible says. Okay? I'm looking at it from the point of view of, all right, even if you're right and I give you every argument, what goes on between a doctor and a patient, that's none of your business at all. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for showing. I don't think you're going to stop it. So, like, you know, what you will see is the increase in whether it's back alley abortions or people dying from not getting the medical care that they needed. I think you'll see an increase in that. I don't see how that benefits us.
I have a question for you. Doesn't it kind of seem like back in the Obama days, they talked about, oh, there's going to be death panels and they're going to judge who gets what medically?
Yeah.
Doesn't it kind of seem like they've taken that idea like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we could do that?
It does seem like that. It does seem like they're trying to figure out how to have more and more, you know, and again, what I find interesting is conservatives and Republicans have historically been the party of less government, but not when it's about your sexuality, not when it's about, and how does this, all right, so I guess my first question is, yes, when you talk about abortion, I can absolutely understand and like I said, I want to be more charitable here. I don't want to sound like I'm just beating on these people. I understand your point. And being as charitable on that as I possibly can be. How does it affect you? It doesn't. It just doesn't. Okay? Until it does, it doesn't affect you. And when it does affect you, you can make that choice for yourself instead of having somebody else in government make that choice for you. And at the end of the day, show me one, you know, like, and no matter how you break this down, okay, well, then who makes the decision? You know what I mean? Like, so if we go back to porn and they're going to try to make porn illegal, okay, well, great. Good luck with that. However, who makes the decision on whether it's pornography or not? Because at some point you have to have a panel that goes, yep, that's porn. Nope, that's not porn. That's art.
Like art is subjective.
Exactly. So that's why I think that they'll fail on that. And I also think they'll fail on that because I think a lot of guys would be seriously pissed if they couldn't go on porn sites. Now, how are you going to stop
this happening? Could we then openly talk about changing the national anthem? Because we would no longer be the land of the free.
Well, you'd have to. You know, land of the free, home of the brave. My ass, we're afraid of fucking porn.
Oh my God, there's boobs.
Yeah. But violence we're fine with.
Yeah.
There's no problem. You can have as much violence as, you know, Second Amendment. Okay, great. Kids get mowed down at school. This isn't the time to talk about, you know, gun control. Okay, well, when? When is a good time? When are you free? And I'm a Second Amendment supporter, so I'm not even saying that from the point of view of wanting gun bans. Okay? I'm saying that from the point of view of if we're going to behave in a certain way and make decisions in this country in a certain fucking way, then let's be consistent. Okay? Let's see what the problem is and see if banning that, because that's all we do. We go to war. That's our thing. We love it. We're going to war against abortion. We're going to war against same-sex marriage. We're going to war against pornography and trans rights. We're going to war against polygamy. Porn and polygamy are being brought up now, and they're not even, like, I don't know anyone who's like, you know what? We need to bring polygamy into the conversation. Do you, I mean, like, has this been aside from, like, you know, where you've got heavy Mormons, and I don't even think they're trying anymore.
What? Tell me about that friend of yours that has 3 wives or 2 wives, was it? Oh yeah, they don't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never known anybody.
And this is
that has more than one. I don't know anybody that'd be like, you know,
even finding
could use another person. Let me get into a legal binding marriage again.
Right. That is, again, but let's say that that's the case.
Now I have 2 wives, which doubles my chance of sleeping on one of the couches.
I used to do that joke. We call it outsourcing at my house. We have a nice little Indian lady that comes in and she's like, "Hello, I'm here to suck your dick." That's how ridiculous it is to me, though. You know what I mean? Like you're allowing under the guise of morality, and then shoveling with the Christian shovel.
Long?
What's that?
How long until we have the Handmaid's Tale?
Well, that's it. That's exactly it. This is the direction that they're going. Yeah. And that's my concern, because I think if given enough time, and when I say time, you just need one more Trump presidency, and then whoever wants to carry his torch from that point on, it's just going to continue.
You think that they watch that show and like, oh, this is a...
Oh, I'm sure that there are some that look at that way. Okay, but so as an example, just today, right? Let me pull it up here. Just today, never, like I had seen some news stories about them trying, like divas trying to make porn illegal, and then under the headline basically of they're coming after gay marriage next, and obviously polygamy comes up in that conversation because that's the same thing. Well, if you're gonna, you know what's next? It's a slippery slope. Everything's a fucking slippery slope. Okay, like when it was gay marriage, I had guys say that to me all the time. They're like, well, it's a slippery slope. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, they're going to start to try to recruit you. How the fuck you recruit somebody to be gay? What do? Send a queer into a fucking Walmart with a clipboard and questions? It's absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, excuse me, sir.
We took a vote.
Excuse me, sir. A couple questions for you. Have you ever sucked a dick? No. Okay, no. You ever thought about sucking a dick? No. Okay, no. You ever poke through the toilet paper and go, ooh, that felt good. I wonder what a dick would feel like in there. No. You're not recruiting, okay?
Just a tip.
It's just insanity. No one's forcing you to have an abortion. No one's forcing you to get gay married. No one's forcing you to dress as a woman if you're a man, or a man if you're a woman. No one's forcing you to look at porn. No one's forcing you into a polygamous relationship, and it's not going to affect you even if it's all around you.
If they had a recruitment, don't you think that they should go with a slogan like, just a tip?
Yeah, we're going to ease you into this. You back up at your own pace. So so look, the one that I'm a little bit fascinated by, because I didn't even know that this was a discussion, and Twitter feed, it pops up today, just one or two, or like main posts in the feed, and then you start scrolling through and you see all the others. But hold on, let me see if I can get to it. Okay.
Isn't it funny how people still refer to it as Twitter?
Yeah, no one's gonna fucking.
Is it Twitter or is it X?
Well, that's the thing. If it's X, then what am I doing? Am I Xing or am I tweeting?
X marks the spot. Right. If it's dirty, is it triple X?
Yeah, and is just because it's X now, does that mean that it's going to be pornography? And again, let's say you get rid of regular pornography, like through the tubes, like YouPorn and whatever, right? Name some. I don't even. Pornhub, okay?
Pornhub, yeah.
So let's say you get rid of all those big servers.
Well, that would just be for Oklahoma, because everybody else is probably not going to go that way.
No, they're talking about trying to do this on a national level. This is not.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Good luck.
There's a lot of Washington.
You want them to talk about people throwing money into the political race? Go after porn.
Yeah, they got the money and the technology.
Like, seriously. Yeah. The number one developer of AI, like robotics in China, is a porn company.
Right. All people don't realize that. Okay, so like people don't realize how much pornography has driven technology, whether that was,
never underestimate the power of a man with.
No, exactly. He will get shit done. Okay, so
dangle that carrot, and that is not a carrot.
Two things. One, I thought this one was interesting. We'll get back to the polygamy in a second because this represents, these two were in a row. Okay. So this guy, and surprisingly, he is this guy is a pastor.
Not a phrase actually you hear every day. We'll get back to the polygamy in a second.
Right after these commercial messages. Oh, speaking of which, I always forget to do this, but I want to give a shout out to Chris at Sweetwater for helping get us set up with all this equipment. Chris Smith is the fucking man. Sweetwater's the place to go. If you have any gear needs, whether that's, for doing a podcast, whether that's your home recording studio, you need instruments, you need whatever it is, if it has anything to do with being a creator, whether musically or on the web or, whatever, get a hold of Chris Smith at Sweetwater. The dude's amazing. He'll hook you up. Tell him that Steve at Little Pickle sent you.
They need a jingle.
Yeah, they do.
Sweetwater needs a jingle.
Here's the thing. What they're smart about is every time you put an order in, and this is why I love them, not only do they send you a little bag of candy, all right, but they send you a little Sweetwater sticker. Those two things are, nice and on their own. You see that with different businesses do that, self-promotion, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I will always get either a text, phone call, email, and usually all three if I don't answer. So like he'll call me to make sure that that I know how everything works. Everything showed up on time. Everything showed up, and there's no damage on any of the equipment or anything like that. And I've bought a lot of stuff from Sweetwater, and every single time, man, this dude is on the phone. Hey, Steve, just want to make sure you got it. It shows that it was delivered. Want to make sure you got it. That's fucking customer service right there. And I'm sure Sweetwater will be thrilled that we put the plug in for them right in between polygamy and gay marriage. All right. So this dude is actually a pastor, right? And he's talking about biblical marriage is between one man and one woman. He says, no, it's not. Biblical marriage is between one man and one woman and that woman's slave, Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. Biblical marriage is between one man and two sisters after he works 7 years for each of them, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. Biblical marriage is between one man, his wives, his master's wives, given to him by God, and the wife of a man he murders, David. Biblical marriage is between one man, 700 wives, 300 concubines, Solomon. That was Solomon that had 700 wives, 300 concubines. Biblical marriage is between one man.
Tired.
Oh, it'd be fucking exhausting.
Imagine all that nagging.
Just, God damn, no, thank you. Biblical marriage is between one man in his 20s and one female child in her mid-teens, Joseph and Mary. The vast majority of marriages depicted in the Bible are between a man and multiple women, or between a man and a female child who was purchased through dowry. So when Christians talk about marriage today, we should focus on what is Christ honoring, and not what's biblical. So his point, because he is more conservative, but he gets ripped up and down in all this. And I'll give him credit.
700? Did you say 700 wives and 300 concubines?
Yeah. And I'm going to give him credit for it.
That's a whole lot of hair to clean out of a shower.
I can tell. Oh, shit.
God damn.
And that post was from Zach W. Lambert on Twitter. And I hope he's happy that we promote I'm not endorsing him, but I get his point. And his point in this was, we're approaching the argument wrong, because the Bible, or what biblical marriage is and what biblical representations of marriage are not what they are in our view today. Now, granted, most of that's Old Testament. Okay, and supposedly everything changes with the New Testament. However,
the New Covenant.
Okay, with that New Covenant, you can't change what marriage has been and what has been accepted as marriage in the Bible without offering reasoning why it's no longer that way. And that's where he was trying to get at, is we need to focus on the fact that it's a modern day one man, one woman. But he's getting ripped. He's getting ripped all over the place.
Seems like they are willing to bring up the new covenant when it's
convenient.
When it's convenient for them. But also, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesus also said, all of the laws prior that my father set forth still stand.
Yeah, you would know better on that one than I do, but I do believe you're right on that.
Yeah.
So then
I know I'm right.
I wouldn't have brought it up if I thought I was wrong.
That's right. But it's the idea that, again, it goes back to do as I say at this moment, then what I do whenever I want.
Right. So then this woman, and I know that H. Pearl Davis at Pearly Things with a Z, she posted, and this is a totally different post. Women want polygamy. Most men would prefer monogamy because it would give them a better situation than they currently have. Now, that's kind of a loaded tweet. All right. And there's much discussion on what she is actually saying, and a lot of people are trying to interpret it. But let's break it down for a second. Most women want polygamy. Most men would prefer monogamy. I think what she's getting at has less to do with the idea of whether they actually want a sister wife and more to do with the idea that if polygamy were legal, you could always shoot for the next dude on the rung, like a man with more value.
Goats.
Yeah, more goats. Exactly. That was how I interpreted it. Okay. And maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know that most women want it when they think about it just as a sharing your man with another woman. I think when it comes down to that, it has less to do with that. I think that most women would say, oh no, I want, my rock. I want my man to be my man. And that's that. But that's without thinking it through. Okay. In at least the TV show versions of polygamy, whether that's sister wives or whatever, typically the other wife or wives get a vote on whether or not this person's going to be brought into the family.
Right.
They typically
From what I've seen.
And I don't know. Polygamy is illegal in the United States, so there's no real fucking test case here. But in the fundamentalist Mormon community, it seems like that's the case. So you have at least one other woman making this decision with you, whether or not to bring this person in, and then everyone does have their place in that lineup, and the first wife has more say than the third or fourth. Now,
let's just hope that they all have the Verizon family plan.
I can't even imagine. That's the thing, though. Like, I can't even imagine, like, looking at Sister Wives. Okay, he had 3 or 4 wives. I forget. I kind of stopped watching.
I couldn't tell you.
All right. So, anyways,
never watched
3 or 4 wives.
I never missed it. I never watched it, so I never missed it.
But he had like 3 or 4 wives, right? And I believe he had 3 when they started the show. Okay, so that was already established, and then they wanted to bring a 4th one in. I think that was more for ratings, but anyways, they had this nice family unit locked in, and seemed like they were all happy. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going off of what I saw in the show.
You guys all got to vote this for a new girl because CBS is telling me that y'all are bored.
Yeah,
for a woman.
Exactly. TBS needs some ratings, and we got to bring it. We got to step it up a notch. But here's my point. Under no circumstance, I mean, they had, I don't even know how many fucking children, and they're doing it for religious reasons, or at least that's what they say. And yeah, the guy on there, Cody, he was a little bit shady, and I think he was in it trying to get as much, much pussy as he possibly could. But the women weren't in it for that. And in fact, more often than not, you saw kind of a sisterhood. And that poor bastard would take the beating, right? Because
that's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen, most likely, in those circumstances. If the women are smart, they become friends, and now the power dynamic completely shifts out of the guy's favor. And that doesn't seem to be uncommon, at least from what I've seen. Now, again, I have no idea if what I'm saying is true. I have no idea.
Well, that is because women forget their place, their property, and only speak when spoken to.
Oh, and that's why he ends up losing on any power in that relationship. Oh, fuck.
I don't like that woman. I'm going to trade her for 3 cows.
But I guess my point is, I don't see any circumstance where that wouldn't be just exhausting. Okay? No matter what way you take it. Not only is it physically exhausting, sexually exhausting, emotionally exhausting, the exhaustion continues on down the road. You know what I mean? If in their case they had separate houses, now you got separate bills, you got separate mortgages, you're all living next to each other, but not really.
One huge Verizon family plan.
Yeah. And God knows on your streaming services, if you can stream it all 4 houses, or if you have to have anyway. But why make a law against it? Why even bring it up right now? There already is a law against it. So why are you saying we need to even talk about it when you're saying
maybe because they want to rescind that law?
No, I don't think they do. I think their goal is I think they're trying to wedge polygamy into the argument to try to ban same-sex marriage and to try to ban or somehow make being a trans illegal. And I guess you could do that, but what's the benefit? Where's the benefit in creating a law that, quite frankly, no one's breaking, or very few? You know what I mean? It's like making an unneeded law. You know, the law.
Isn't there an aspect of the whole banning the trans thing or gay marriage that just kind of gets a whiff of Germany and the whole let's get rid of the Jewish race?
Well, that's the thing. That's the other thing, is that when it comes to trans and even homosexuality, I think that there is a growing faction within the United States, specifically with these Christian nationalists, who would argue that there should be no problem completely, doing a Gestapo type roundup of anyone seen in trans, any trans you see out there, round them up in the paddy wagon, boys. Or any homosexuals, round them up in the paddy wagon, boys. I think that's where it could go.
Throwing any kind of human rights out there.
Well, and then that's it. So they scream human rights when it comes to abortion, but deny human rights when it comes to homosexuals, trans, people that want to be in a polyamorous or polygamous relationship. What are you doing? Again, you're making, it's like that law. There's one of the stupid laws that I looked up was, and I forget where it was, but there's actually a law in the books that says a man cannot shoot off a gun while his wife is having an orgasm. Now, it doesn't say whether or not he's making her have the orgasm. It doesn't say whether or not she's in a different room or anywhere, in the car, in the grocery store, having an orgasm. Just
along the same lines, there's a law in Alaska that says if you are hunting a moose, I legally cannot whisper into your ear.
Again, it's a law that I don't think we need. You know what I mean? Like, no one's asking. I know that there was this, this idea of thruples, and I know that there was this, a lot more open, or a lot more people being open about their open relationships. Okay. But that doesn't hurt anyone that's against it. It only hurts the people that are in it. And if you're conservative and you say that you want people to be responsible for their own decisions, quit making their decisions for them. And this is, like I said, I'm shocked at how much they can't quite figure out what it is that they want. Do you want
they want to know what you're thinking. They want to know what you're doing. They want to know what you plan on doing.
And how you're going to do it, and in what position you're going to do it.
Exactly.
But how does that help them? How does that help them? How does that help?
It's not about help. It's about control.
I get that, but how does it help them control people? Because even if you put all these things into place, okay, it's not going to make it go away.
If you can do one thing, you can do another thing.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're feeling their oats, because they got away with the abortion, overturning Roe v. Wade, and now they're feeling their oats again and wanting to go towards these other things. But again, if you say it's because you're trying to protect the children, you better take that fucking phone out of their hand. You better not let them online. You better shelter them from their friends and from school. You better just homeschool them. See what kind of fucking freaks you turn out. And once they do realize that all this stuff is available, have some money put aside for all the therapy and rehab that they're going to need.
Therapy is awesome.
What's that?
I said therapy is also evil.
Yeah, to a lot of them it is. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? Because if you're invading our bedrooms and you want control of the sex life, then isn't the next step that you want control of how the children are raised? Isn't the next step...
No more free thought.
No more free... Yeah, exactly. It just continues down the line. You know what I mean? So, like the arguments of trans are equal... they're obviously grooming children and pedophiles and influence... Okay, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's just...
That's what they want people to believe.
It's just an uncomfortable conversation you have to have with your child. Same thing with same-sex marriage, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be the end of procreation. I had one guy, a family member, I'm not going to mention the name, but who said when everything was going on with the gay marriage being made legalized, said, well, that's it. We might as well all be gay. We might as well all be gay and not and just have gay sex, and no one has any more babies. And sooner or later we'll just, no longer exist. And I looked at him and I said, let me ask you something. Do you ever watch gay porn? He goes, no. I go, I want you to go into your office. I want you to pull up some gay porn. And if you feel even the slightest wiggle or jiggle downstairs, they already got you. But if you don't, I think we'll all be fine. I just don't get what they're actually for anymore. You know what I mean? Like, again, let's just go to the border bill with the Republicans.
It's control. It's all. But control.
What are they controlling? All they're controlling is nothing getting done right now. And then the stuff that they're trying.
They haven't done anything.
No, they haven't. But once, let's say, for example, Trump wins. Okay, then what? What massive amount of bullshit will be passed incredibly quick if he ends up in office with a Republican House and Senate? How quick will all this all of a sudden go into play?
Is there an aspect, do you ever end up feeling like just flustered and you've had enough? And you're just like, you know what? Elect him president. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do everything that you want. Just get it over with.
Actually, I'm not going to lie. I think about that a lot. A lot of times I think, you know what? Let's give them what they ask for. Let's let them have it.
But I want something in return. Like, for instance, if he goes crazy and the debt goes up a crazy amount, the people registered as Republicans have to pay that debt. If
I'd be down
if
for
he
that.
tries, if he tries to be a tyrant and it fails, he's executed on TV.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Like, okay, great. So if we do a tit for tat, that doesn't really, unfortunately, it's hysterical, and it's a great thought exercise. But what damage happens if we do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like,
well, my question is what would you want in return?
What would I want in return?
Yeah. What kind of reparation do you think would be
well,
applicable?
I honestly, I would, like, out of the gate, I would want only the people who vote for him to be held accountable to any laws that are passed. So, like, you want that, you have to live with that. I don't know though. That's a great fucking question. Like, if it is a good question. That's really tough for me to say because I don't know that, aside from just joking around, I don't know that I have a serious answer to that without putting a lot more thought to it.
What about the dissolution of the Republican Party?
That I would be, again, see, I don't want them dissolved. That's the problem. You know what I mean? I think that it's healthy to have,
it is.
I've always been opposed to a two-party system. Okay? I think that there are better ways that we could do this and actually get some shit done. But I also know that the more you dilute the political system, it can also make it a lot harder to get things done. I would say that what I would really. So is this like, okay, he's elected, but it all goes horrible? What are what happens?
Yeah, because quite honestly, let's face it. If he got elected, what positive could happen out of it?
Well, I think my first instinct would be to have him do the Game of Thrones Cersei shame walk through Washington. So he would have to be stripped naked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chain around his neck, and marched from the White House to the Capitol, and left on the Capitol steps for 24 hours, and people just screaming shame at him.
Would we throw little pickles at him?
Oh yeah, little pickles and cherry tomatoes. I don't want to hurt anyone. Put a little pickle in a cherry tomato. I mean, how much fucking damage can that do?
Yeah,
just to let him know. You know what I mean? Like, he needs. See, again, I don't think he's the problem. I think this is systemic within the party and within religion. And the party is embrace the religion in order to get the numbers they need to try to win anything. But they're also embracing the crazy that comes from the religion. And
I just feel like there needs to be some kind of payment made by them and him if this all goes horribly wrong.
See, that's the thing is, unfortunately, that'll never happen. But it's a great question. It's a great fucking question, and something I would think about. So like, I guess we can just tease this one a little bit because this will be probably a follow-up episode to this one.
Oh, maybe he, Bobart, the butthead from Florida.
Oh, Gates.
Yeah, and MTG, whatever fuck her name is. They get locked into a squared circle and have to fight to the death.
Now that would be something. But see, here's the problem with that. Good old Large Marge is going to win. I don't
tell him Large Marge sent you.
I don't like if you have. So let's say you take and you put it in an octagon, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a death match, and you got Trump, Gates, Jordan, Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a couple other fucking weirdos, right? It's going to end up being just Marge and Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is going to win or hold his own because of his wrestling history. And Marge is going to hold her own because she's a demon spawn. So it's just a matter of which one.
What if each man has to have an arm tied behind his back and everybody gets a weapon, but that weapon is only a spoon?
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun. I think I have to put my money on the demon winning, and that's Marjorie. I don't think, you know how like you'll see two bears fighting, like a video of two bears fighting, and you think, Jesus, they're really going at it. That's gotta hurt. But they got so much fur and so much protection that it doesn't even draw blood. They might feel it, but it would be like me slapping you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the power I see of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she's just a big dumb bear. that would probably find a way to fight dirty enough to beat everyone in there. I really think she's got that psychotic, I'm going to win this fight no matter what the fight's about kind of vibe.
When I see her, all I can ever think about is I think it was either CPAC or the Republican National Convention or something that had a display up of a jail cell and a person pretending to be one of the January 6th rioters.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Stuck in prison.
Right.
And she got into the cage and knelt down and was praying with them.
Yeah.
And consoling the person.
She's something.
What kind of fucking photo op is that?
Yeah, but I mean, what kind of, again, go back to...
You think that person in their brain was also thinking, get the fuck away from me, you crazy bitch?
No, I think they were thrilled. I think they were probably thrilled. It's just like, again, going back to the border thing, that convoy that was supposed to be 7,000 trucks strong and only ended up being, what, like 600 or something? It was nowhere near what they were predicting. But it turned into...
And then the people there were very disappointed at the lack of an invasion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Where is everyone? Right?
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I thought was interesting was the fact that people were getting baptized in...
in $500 in a horse trough.
In a horse trough. Is that what they were doing? Charging?
Yeah. $500.
To get baptized.
In a horse trough.
In a horse trough. Okay. I didn't know that part. I don't know if I didn't read that part of it. I just saw the video of some stupid woman getting baptized in a horse trough. I mean, come on, really? Really? This is where we're going? This is the world we're living in. You know,
IQ level.
You said, where do you think this is going if he gets back in? Well, unfortunately, I think where it's going, and for those of you who have not looked into this, we're not fully prepared to talk about it because it's a pretty extensive, pretty deep subject. But Project 2025.
Because the gloves would come off. The gloves would come off. You would have no checks or balances.
Well, that's
no worry about another term.
That's really what Project 2025 sets up. And that's what I'm saying is if you get no matter who the Republican is, you get a Republican in office in the presidency, and Trump would be the perfect candidate for the people who are behind it, which is, the Heritage Foundation and every conservative think tank.
Don't you think it's a little odd that we're so far out from election and already all these people were dropping out?
What do you mean?
Like DeSantis,
no, actually,
Ramaswamy.
No, I don't actually. I don't. I don't tell you, there's two reasons why. It's not uncommon that by the time you get to Super Tuesday, there's only 2 or 3 candidates left. That's not super uncommon. What's more uncommon is if you have more than 2 or 3. So that doesn't bother me. That doesn't surprise me. And let's face it, the writing was on the wall for all of them. They all knew this going into it. So really the only reason they were going into it, aside from Christie, his whole point was to tell the truth about Trump and try to get Trump, try to bait him on stage and get him in a debate. You know what I mean? He wanted to make him look like a fool, but Trump wouldn't fall for that. And I do think that Christie would have gone toe-to-toe with him in a pretty impressive way on a debate stage. Because Christie, being a former prosecutor, he's not afraid of the conflict. And he's not afraid to interrupt. He's not afraid to say you're wrong, right? And I think he's one of the few people that could go toe-to-toe with Trump as far as dominating a conversation in debate. Ramaswamy was never a serious candidate. He's never been serious about anything. DeSantis, I think, he thought he was the golden boy who was going to take this all away, but he also knew, realistically, this was all going to happen only if Trump was convicted and thrown in jail before the election. And apparently, was it tomorrow, the Supreme Court, I think, is supposed to talk about or decide whether he is going to be on the Colorado ballot, I think.
I think so.
The appellate court just shut down the idea that a president can do whatever he wants. Do you think that that's going to end up going to Supreme Court?
That is the ultimate question.
I kind of don't. I don't think it will.
I'm leaning towards no, because everything's been kind of covered with the third court?
The appellate court.
Yeah.
The appellate court went and literally eviscerated every one of the arguments that was made by Trump's attorney. Like, completely eviscerated it. And rather than having...
was it a 93-page dissertation?
70-some, I think it was. Yeah, it was like 72 pages, something like that. Anyways, the point being is they also did something which is kind of a judicial play, all right? So, like, oftentimes one will write the opinion and then everyone just signs their name to it in the appellate court. But, and I forget what the name of this is, but in this particular instance, they all wrote it together and none of them signed it because that's their way of saying, we are in complete agreement. We all wrote this together. We all participated and all agree with everything that's in this. Typically,
I think if it hadn't been all three, I think then there would be a more likelihood it would go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, it would absolutely. Because if it goes to the Supreme Court, he can continue to delay. If he goes the route of wanting the other 11 or whatever it is justices to weigh in from the appellate court in D.C., then the clock keeps ticking.
But I know of a person who feels that this is a good thing, having the appellate court rule this way. Plays right into Trump's hands, because this is what he wants. He wants to go to the Supreme Court so that they too rule the same way, because it's another arrow in the quiver, so that when they go to court, he can present all of this evidence of election fraud, of all the draining the swamp in Washington, exposing all of the pedophiles. It's basically QAnon shit. But as I said to the person, why would he want this? If that's what he actually wants, then why fight this?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, what people don't understand is that there's no circumstance in which he doesn't understand that these things are serious. Okay? And the reason we all know that he knows these things are serious is because he's fucking shelling out a ton of money, whether it's from PACs, whether it's from his campaign, whether it's from his own pocket. He's shelling out a fuck ton of money. Oh,
it's not coming from his pocket.
No, not yet. Well, it will be. So like the judgment, E. Jean Carroll, that's got to come out of his pocket. If, and I don't know where it stands right now, the fraud case as far as New York City, I mean, that right there could be a devastating blow to him financially.
Yes.
So how that plays out, who knows? I don't know. What I do know is that if he does go for judicial review in the appellate, the clock keeps ticking. And the message has already been sent to the other judges by them all signing on to this one thing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If it goes to the Supreme Court, the clock gets stopped. So he does end up in a situation of being able to delay. But that delay won't go as long as he hopes for, most likely. Even if he had all of the Supreme Court in his pocket. Okay? And the reason is, there's a couple of reasons. One, they understand what the appellate judges were saying by doing it this way. Two, what argument? I mean, like right out of the gate, John Roberts has to be in a position of saying, I'm going to give you the opportunity to make the argument on whether we should take this case. That's fine. But all of your arguments seem to have been answered, so I don't understand what new thing you're going to bring to it. So you're going to have to supply me ahead of time with an understanding of where your argument goes from here, because these are all clearly resolved. Okay? The other reason I don't think it's going to go to the Supreme Court, I don't think they're going to take it up. I think that John Roberts, he made it pretty clear that he doesn't like getting involved in this type of stuff in many different settings. So like he doesn't want to get involved in the politics of it. He's only concerned about the law. And everything that has happened, even the overturning of Roe v. Wade, has left a very bad taste in his mouth because it is under his stewardship in the last few years, the Supreme Court's view, the I don't want to say popularity or the trustworthiness has gone way down. So I don't think he wants to be part of that. I don't think he wants the court to be part of that. And ultimately, he has the most sway on whether or not they bring this up or not. The other issue is that anything dealing with Trump at this point, at least with Thomas, because of all the ethics issues and where the money has come from, and the fact that Ginny Thomas was heavily involved in trying to overturn the election, I don't see how Roberts lets Thomas participate.
It would be a conflict of interest.
I would think it would be a conflict of interest. And I think that at that point, it wouldn't be, are you willing to step down, Clarence? I think it would be, no, you got to recuse yourself, motherfucker. Like, I think Thomas needs to recuse himself with anything. And I'm not saying it from my point of view. I'm saying it from the point of view of John Roberts.
Fair and balanced.
Yeah, I'm saying it from the point of view of Roberts being the steward and Supreme Court, justice that's running the show here. He's the main dude. And he doesn't want to have to clean up this mess afterwards and doesn't want to have to, like, I don't see him as a guy, like, I don't necessarily agree with Roberts on a lot of things, but I've never thought to myself, oh, that evil bastard. You know what I mean? I went, okay, well, yes. I don't agree with that. I don't like that ruling, but I see how he got there. You know what I mean? I can appreciate when you may not be able to change my mind, but you at least helped me understand how you arrived at that particular decision. And I think Roberts does that more than he does partisan shit. Not to say that he doesn't do partisan shit. I think all the Supreme Courts, all the justices participate to some level in partisan bullshit. However, with Roberts, I think he thinks about it a lot more than the rest of them, and definitely thinks about it way more than Clarence Thomas ever possibly could think about it. That dude's got to go. He's got to go. I don't understand how he can be involved in anything Trump related. You know what I mean? Like, I disagree with him on a lot of things, but specifically when it comes to Trump, given the fact of the gifts that he's received from large Republican donors, and given the fact that his wife, Ginny Thomas, has been so involved in the whole Trump thing, I don't see how you can let him go into this at all. God damn, it's just, like I said, it's one of those things where I continuously find myself going, what the fuck is going on in the world? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to agree, but why the insanity? Why the stupidity?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Well, like I said, when it boils down to, okay, now we're going to make porn illegal. I don't give a shit if it's legal or it's not legal. Like, that's not even, it's just, why will you pick this fight? We're going to make polygamy illegal. It already is. Why are you starting a fight that no one's having? Like, we're going to go after, why don't you leave settled law as settled law? Abortion, it may not have been perfect, Roe v. Wade, but it lasted 50 years and it worked. It was kind of the compromise. You know what I mean? It was kind of no one got exactly what they wanted, but some people just couldn't let it go. They just couldn't let it go. And again,
well, don't you know you can't? It's about sanctity of life, murdering innocent babies.
Okay, I don't fucking care. Club them like they're going to hell. Club them like they're baby fucking seals, dude. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I would rather a woman get a safe, legal doctor abortion than raise a child she doesn't want. or give a child up that she doesn't want. I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that on every fucking level. I am so okay with it. Okay? And I think that that's the problem is that what people just don't seem to understand is that just because you don't like something doesn't mean that you need to legislate against it. Okay? If it's not bothering you physically. This is the biggest problem I think we have in this country right now. Everyone thinks that their feelings matter, and they don't. Your feelings don't matter. My feelings don't matter. I have
a voice, and you're going to listen to it.
I don't care. My feelings don't matter any more than your feelings. Your feelings don't matter any more than mine. I'm not trying to say that, somebody has moral high ground or whatever. Whatever the fuck it is you think, okay? You just don't have the right to be sticking your nose in other people's business like that. Leave them alone. They're not hurting you. If your next door neighbor...
go woke, go broke thing.
Yeah. Again, good luck. Go woke, go broke. Well, guess what? Trump just endorsed Budweiser and Bud Light. So that didn't work out.
With that whole thing, I don't care. It doesn't affect my life. I don't buy Budweiser.
Well, beyond that, though, I think really what it boiled down to was when you look at the Budweiser campaign, and usually Budweiser was like on point with all campaigns. They were one of the juggernauts of like, whether it was the frogs, whether it's the Clydesdales.
The horses.
The
Clydesdales.
Yeah. They're usually really on point. Okay? They make one mistake in their advertising in what? I don't even know how many years. They make one mistake thinking that they're doing the right thing based on the circumstances that are in the country at the moment, right? And you want to put them out of business. You can send the message and you can say, you know what? You're going to have a really bad year. You're going to have a really bad quarter. We're going to tank your stock for a little bit. But at what point do you go, okay, well, that was enough. And I get it. People felt that Dylan Mulvaney pushing Bud Light was just it was a step too far. Okay? I don't see what the big deal is. I don't fucking care. I don't care. Even if I drank Bud Light, which I don't, but even if I did, because I used to, who cares? If I'm drinking a Bud Light, that doesn't mean I'm a trans. Is that what the problem was? Is that you were identifying as trans by having a Bud Light? Is it, oh, you're supporting trans people because you're drinking a Bud Light? I don't even understand what the fucking argument was, okay? It's a watery beer to begin with. Start there. You know what I mean?
Goes back, that I feel goes back to hate for anything that is different.
No, it's hate for anything that there is and this is something I'm seeing a lot online. It's really hate for anything that you morally disagree with. So just because your morals are A and my morals are B, you have to hate me and I have to hate you. Well, that's a lot of wasted hate and a lot of wasted energy, okay? Because again, if you don't want an abortion, don't get one. But no one made you the unborn baby police. You can have your opinion. You're welcome to it. That's called free fucking speech. But that doesn't mean that you get to legislate it. And that doesn't mean, even if you are right that it is killing a baby, even if I give you every argument, life starts immediately at the time of conception, it's still none of your business what happens. It doesn't affect you if they get an abortion. What does affect you is if they don't get an abortion. Because when they don't get the abortion, suddenly you're going to see your taxes go up. You're going to see more people on government aid. You're going to see more food stamps. You're going to see more homelessness. You're going to see more poverty. You're going to see more crime. Okay? Yep. These are all things that actually will affect you, but not right away. And you probably won't even recognize that it was because of that decision that it's affecting you. But it will. 2 people getting married that are gay doesn't affect you. Even if you Worst case scenario, you're the cake maker. And you don't want to make the cake. Well, apparently, I don't remember what the decision was on that, but I think the decision was that you can refuse service to anyone you want. Do you remember? Yep. That was what it was, right?
That's what it came down to.
Okay. So again, couple comes in. You don't want to make a cake for him. You don't want money, even though that's your business. But your religious or moral views are such that you cannot be brought to bake a cake because that's encouraging their immoral behavior, if that's your view. It still doesn't affect you. It still doesn't affect you. You get invited to a gay wedding, you can say, I don't want to go. You don't want to get gay married, don't get gay married. You don't want an abortion, don't get an abortion. You don't want pornography, don't look at pornography. You don't want it in your house, find ways to keep it out of your house. You don't want your children exposed to it. Make sure you're a good enough parent where you're making sure that they're not exposed to it. These are all things that are on you, not on all of us. And what they're doing is they're trying to literally turn it into a paternal state, all while saying that they think there should be less government. How the fuck do you square that circle? I mean, how do you square it? Puritanical doesn't work. Prohibition does not work. We know these things. We have historical evidence of these things. So at what point do we wake up? You know, they talk about the silent majority being the conservatives. Bullshit. I think the silent majority are the people who go, what the fuck is going on and why are we allowing it? And that's what I want to be. I want to be the person that leads that charge. Like, I
could understand that.
I'm not interested in political parties. I think they're both fucked. I think all political parties are fucked. And I think all political ideologies are flawed. Yep. But if I could be something, I want to be the guy who goes, okay, that's enough. What the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing, kids? Because that's how they're behaving. They're behaving like children. Children that, my toy is abortion. My toy is porn. My toy is gay. My toy is books at the library that I don't like. Go fuck yourself. Don't go to the library. Don't let your kid go to the library. Don't fuck up the library for everyone else. And now I'll step off my soapbox. I really kind of fucking went off. I'm sure there's going to be things I said in there I regret.
Yeah. What happens if someone doesn't like the city pool? It's too cold. It's too deep. It's not deep enough.
Well, as long as they can do a baptism and charge $500, I don't think that they'll have an issue with it. So tell me, as we wrap this up, tell me something that you've seen in the news that should give me, somebody who's obviously spun out on all this stupidity, something that gives me hope.
Something that gives you hope.
That potentially.
Absolutely fucking nothing.
That did not work the way I had hoped.
I have nothing good to say.
That's the problem.
Like I said, lately I've been feeling like, Christ, here we go. That's what I think of every time I watch the news lately. It's Christ. You know, this again. Christ. I'm here. I got to hear this again. Christ. Why is it getting dark in here? Why is it getting warm in here? Oh, Christ, I'm in a basket. It's on its way to hell.
Yeah. And that's what it's. I swear to God, it seems that way, dude. I don't know. And again, you know, for the listener, we're just two brothers trying to figure out what the fuck has gone wrong in this country since we were kids to now. And I honestly do believe what's gone wrong in this country has been religion. I think that religion is driving, specifically as they feel like they're losing power and they're losing grasp and they're losing attendees and they're losing parishioners. I think that they're losing money. Yep. They're losing a lot of money. And I think if we could get to the point where we could only approach these issues from a secular point of view, and maybe a little bit of a historical point of view, maybe we wouldn't have these problems. Maybe
Well,
we'd all get along.
I know someone in particular who feels that the country has had 250 some years of secular governance. It's time for Christian Sharia law.
But that's what that's what they're saying. Like, if that person that said that to you said it to you just like that, which I'm assuming they did, they don't even understand what it is that they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even comprehend what that means.
What do you think it means?
Oh, I think that puts you into basically an Iranian system of government. You're not in a democracy. You're in a theocracy, and once you're in a theocracy, then it's whoever is at the head of that theocracy gets to decide what's okay and what's not okay, and it can change just with a nod. Okay, whenever you're in a theocracy, you're going to revert back to a very male-dominated, controlled, women with no rights whatsoever, or very few, or as few as they think they can get by with, right? But you end up in a situation where nothing good, there's never been anything good to come out of a theocracy, which is exactly the reason why this country wasn't set up as a theocracy. There were plenty of theocracies back then. They knew it wasn't working. And that's really what it boils down to is that is not a system of governance that works, because not everyone will believe the way you believe. And if you want a theocracy, I mean, I don't know what they call it in North Korea, but essentially that's a theocracy. It's a dictatorship, but the dear leader, and they think he's essentially divine. So, I mean, it's
he
like...
never poops.
Yeah, it's like borderline. He never poops. That explains why he had so much weight gain. He's full of shit. He's full of shit. But a theocracy is never going to work. And it's definitely not going to work in a country like this. Okay. So even when you, at best case scenario, right? So like, I think last year, or within the last couple of years, church attendance has dropped 12% of the total population. And that's a lot. That's a lot of fucking people not showing up with, an envelope to put in the fucking tray. And when you look at it from the point of view of trying to tell people that they have to behave in a certain way because it's what the invisible man in the sky says, you're going to have pushback. And then you're going to have executions from the pushback. And then you're going to scare everyone into believing that you have some sort of divine power over them. And you're never going to want to give that up. And you're always going to continue. All that will lead to is a lot more people getting imprisoned, disappeared, and accidentally murdered in the name of Jesus. And that is not what any of those teachings are about. I don't see under any circumstance how having a Christian theological government is in any way, shape, or form better than having an Islamic one. Sharia law or Christian law as the law, it doesn't work. And how far back do they go, and how true do they stay to the text? You know what I mean? Are we going to do the shellfish? We're going to do that? We're going to do the mixed linens? If you have a poly blend
I'm so screwed.
Yeah, you're fucked. And so what? I mean, honestly, are we, like, how legit are we going to dig into biblical law and apply it to the entire country?
You're going to have to stay in the guest cabin because it's the time of your month.
Exactly.
Get around me.
Here's your red tent. So I don't know. Like, I'm just looking for hope. I'm looking for hope on this one. I'm looking for a positive word from my little brother saying, you'll be able to jack off in all 50 states. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, you fucking pervert. You'll be able to jack off in every state, even in Hawaii and Alaska.
I always think that there's going to come a point when the push comes to shove, and what if instead of a civil war, all the liberals left? We just said, fuck this place. Go fuck yourselves. We're leaving.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I do think that it would be...
Come on, that would be awesome.
Just to pick up...
all go to Canada. We just all go to Canada, we build that wall.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Over to see
that means that we have to leave our home. And I don't think
How hard would it be?
Oh, it wouldn't be that hard. Okay. But the point being, why do I have to leave when you're the one being an asshole? You know what I mean? Like you're again.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
These are the.
I'll gladly go up to Canada, eat some poutine.
Yeah, now we're talking food porn. Oh, that's gonna be illegal.
What? Porn?
Food porn will be illegal. Food porn will be illegal. I don't know. I think the best we can hope for, if there is a positive side to this, is that people wake up, they read and recognize the writing on the wall. They look into what Project 2025 is. They contemplate honestly whether or not they're bothered so much by somebody else's different morality or different lifestyle that they feel it needs to be legislated against, and whether or not we allow our politicians to continuously riddle us with fear. You know what I mean? Like, gay marriage didn't change fucking anything. It didn't change anything. It just meant people were recognized and had the same tax breaks and had the same respect as a married couple.
I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize right now to the great country that is Canada. Because right now, they probably really do feel like they're living upstairs from a
horrible neighbor.
A meth lab.
Yeah. Yeah.
From a meth lab.
Yeah.
A religious bent, schizophrenic meth lab.
Well, with that, I say we put a pin in it and say, we're sorry, Canada.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And you know what? I'm sorry to Mexico. Because there's a lot of great people down there. And they're all like, fuck.
We got a meth lab upstairs.
I want to give you guys some taco.
Well, Canada and Mexico, sorry, guys. But
one nation under Canada, above Mexico. We used to have liberty and justice for all.
And with that, peace out.